Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Sunday, August 6, 2023. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Sunday in Major League Baseball. First up is the Chicago White Sox taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Jesse Scholten's for Chicago, no official starter for the Guardians. Could be Curry in a bullpen game here for Cleveland. Now, I like the Guardians in this matchup. Scholten's has got a 3.07 ERA on the season, mostly featured out of the bullpen. He did pitch well in his last start against the Rangers, 6 innings, 1 run, but he gave up a home run in that game, and the expected numbers aren't great. I do have some regression concerns going forward for Scholten's, who doesn't have great strikeout numbers, has a 5.1 xFIP and a 4.61 FIP. I do think the Guardians team that limits strikeouts already really well to begin with will be able to get to Scholten's, and the White Sox lineup has not been able to back up its starting pitchers recently. They've really struggled offensively, both against righties and lefties, more so against right-handed pitchers. So give me the Cleveland Guardians here on the money line at home. Next up, it's the Houston Astros taking on the New York Yankees. Jose Urquidy returns to the mound for Houston, and Carlos Rodon on the other side for the Yankees. Now, Urquidy was placed on the 60-day IL with a shoulder injury after his start on April 30th. In his rehab starts in AAA and AA, he pitched a combined 14 innings of work with 15 base hits allowed, 9 total runs, 7 of those were earned, and only 11 strikeouts, so a 7.1 Ks per 9, 4.5 ERA in the minor league rehab starts. Urquidy struggled at the major league level, at the beginning of the season through 27 2/3. He's not really somebody that strikes out a lot of guys. He's more of a pitch-to-contact starter, but he was giving up a lot of sharp contact early this season. His control is off a little bit as well. I don't really love him in this spot. Even against the Yankees team, hasn't been great against righties in the last month. Carlos Rodon also struggling quite a bit. 1-4 record, is 6.2 ERA now with the Yankees through his first 5 starts. Don't really like him here against the Houston Astros team. Hits lefties very, very well. Give me the over here at Yankee Stadium. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Zach Greinke and Taijuan Walker are your starters. Now, when you look at the last week or so, the Royals, offense is doing really well against right-handed pitchers. And in the last 30 days, Kansas City now is right around league average in team OPS and isolated power against righties with a low strikeout rate to go with it. I know Walker's been good at Citizens Bank Park this season, but I still think he gives up a few runs early in this game. And we talked about the Phillies bullpen about a month ago, at the beginning of the month of July. It was one of the better bullpens in terms of expected numbers, but it has regressed quite a bit now going into August as we see the 4th highest SIERA in baseball for Phillies bullpen. The ERA is still fine, but we're starting to see them regress. We saw that in the Marlins series. We saw it in the first game of this series where they blew the lead or blew the tie game. So, I do think that the Phillies bullpen could struggle in this game as well. Zach Greinke, we talk about it all the time. He pitches pretty well at Kauffman Stadium, but on the road, you just can't back him. He's got a 7.4 ERA this season on the road. Last year, he pitched really well at Kauffman Stadium, had a 5.32 ERA on the road. So I do think the Phillies will be able to back up, Walker and the bullpen. And the Royals bullpen, we know all season long has really struggled. Expected number-wise, ERA-wise, in the last 30 days, the highest SIERA and a 5.57 ERA to go with it. So for me, I think we see scoring from start to finish of this ball game. Give me the over here in Kansas City, Philadelphia. Next up, we go to the Baltimore Orioles New York Mets matchup. Jose Quintana and Kyle Bradish are your starters. Now, Quintana's been fine for the Mets this season, a 3.57 ERA through his first 3 starts, but the problem is the Mets bats aren't backing him up, or the bullpen's not backing him up. As even through his first 3 starts with good numbers, the Mets have lost all 3 of those ball games. So now you're facing the Baltimore Orioles, a team with a very good lineup, especially against lefties, a very good bullpen, and a starting pitcher that's been very solid in Kyle Bradish with a 3.32 ERA on the season. Last start against the Blue Jays, 7 innings, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts, a quality start there, and another victory for Baltimore, 13-3. For me, no reason not to take the Orioles in this spot. Give me the O's on the money line at Camden Yards. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Boston Red Sox. We're going to see Chris Bassett for Toronto, no official starter for Boston. Now, Chris Bassett has struggled pretty notably on the road this season, 4-4 record, but a 5.63 ERA. Not great strikeout numbers, a lot of home runs given up on the road as well. We're at a very hitter-friendly ballpark facing a Red Sox team that has hit righties very well in the last month with good OPS numbers and isolated power numbers and a low strikeout rate to go with it. I think Bassett struggles, but I do think the Blue Jays lineup will be able to back him up. This Red Sox bullpen's been better in the last month or so, but it's also been worked really heavily. We saw a bullpen game already this series. A lot of games with the Red Sox that have used a lot of relievers, so I do think we see both teams get on the board early and often. Give me the over here at Fenway Park. Next up, it's Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Detroit Tigers. Tyler Glasnow and Matt Manning are your starters. I think this is a starting pitching mismatch here. I mean, Matt Manning last year, at the beginning of this year, pitched a lot better at Comerica Park than on the road, but we saw his last start at home against the Angels on July 27th. 7 base hits, 7 earned runs, and 3 home runs in an 11-4 Tigers loss. And the Tigers have now lost each of his last 3 starts, and his last game against the Pittsburgh Pirates, a struggling lineup, he gives up 4 earned runs and 8 base hits with another home run in that 4-1 Tigers loss. I don't think his offense is going to back him up here with Tyler Glasnow on the other side for Tampa Bay, who's been pitching really well on the road this season. 3-1 record, 2.76 ERA away from Tropicana Field, and 38 strikeouts in 29 1/3 innings of work. The Rays bullpen's been improved. I think the lineup gets demanding. Give me the Tampa Bay Rays here, laying the 1.5 runs on the run line. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Jake Irvin going for Washington, no official starter for Cincinnati. I don't love this spot or matchup for Jake Irvin here on the road at a very hitter-friendly ballpark where a lot of home runs are hit. We know Jake Irvin's had some issues with the home run ball this season, 13 homers in 79 2/3 innings, but his last 3 starts, 5 home runs combined. I do think Cincinnati will be able to get to him for a few runs early in this game. The Nationals bullpen's also not been very good this season, so I like Cincinnati's matchup offensively, but it's tough to go against these Nationals offensively when they're playing on the road. This team has been very competitive this season. They don't strike out much against lefties or righties. Facing a Reds bullpen in the last month, a little bit below league average in terms of the expected numbers, the ERA of 4.29. I think we see a high-scoring affair here. Give me the over in Washington, Cincinnati. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Brandon Woodruff returns to the mound for Milwaukee. Yohan Oviedo on the other side for Pittsburgh. Now, Woodruff pitched only 11 1/3 innings at the major league level before being injured and placed on the 60-day IL for Milwaukee. He made a couple of rehab starts in the minor leagues, 11 2/3 innings, 9 base hits, 4 earned runs, and 11 strikeouts, so a 3.09 ERA combined. I think he pitches pretty well in this game. I don't expect him to go too deep into this ballgame his first start back. But the Pittsburgh Pirates have actually improved quite a bit against righties in the last month or so. So I do think that, they do have a little bit of an advantage there with Yohan Oviedo pitching so well his last couple of starts. The Pirates won both of those games against the Tigers and Padres. 13 innings of work, only 2 runs with 10 strikeouts to go with it. To me, I think the Brewers are a little bit overvalued in this spot. I just don't think we're going to see a lot of Brandon Woodruff in this game. And with how well Oviedo pitched and, the Brewers' struggles against righties in the last month, being ranked near the bottom of the league in team OPS in the last 30 days, I think there could be a little bit of value with Pittsburgh. So lean towards the under and the Pittsburgh Pirates plus the 1.5 runs in this one. Next up, it's the Colorado Rockies taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Austin Gomber for Colorado, no official starter for St. Louis. Now, Austin Gomber's really turned things around recently. I mean, his last 5 starts, 4 of those 5 games were quality starts. In all 5 of those games, he went 6 innings or more. His ground ball stuff is working. His control's been a lot better, limiting sharp contact as well. No home runs his last 2 games. And he's been actually pretty solid on the road this season for Colorado with a 4.05 ERA. We know the Rockies as a team, it doesn't really play too well on the road this season or in years prior, but I do think the Rockies have been a lot more competitive, even offensively, in their last few road series. And we saw in the first game of this series scoring 9 runs in that big win. So I'm willing to take the Rockies here plus the 1.5 runs. I know it's not an easy matchup for Gomber against the Cardinals team that has pretty good numbers against lefties recently, but I still think Gomber's the better option here. St. Louis's pitching staff has been one of the worst in baseball this season. Now, with a lot of their arms gone after the trade deadline, it's even it's in even worse shape. So give me the Colorado Rockies plus the 1.5 runs with a sprinkle on the money line as well. Next up, we go to Wrigley as the Braves take on the Cubs. Charlie Morton and Justin Steele are your starters. Now, Justin Steele got a lot of run support in his last game against Cincinnati. It was a 20-9 victory for Chicago in that game. Steele wasn't really the sharpest in that one. He went 6 innings with 6 strikeouts, no walks, but he gave up a home run, 4 earned runs, and 5 total runs with 9 base hits allowed as well. The Braves have a very, very small sample size against lefties in the last month with only 93 plate appearances, the lowest in baseball by far. But in those 93 plate appearances, pretty good power numbers, low strikeout rate, pretty high walk rate. I do think they'll be able to get to Justin Steele here. And Charlie Morton, even though the Braves have lost his last 3 starts and he hasn't really been in the best of form, I just think he's the better option here in this game with the better bullpen and the much better lineup to go with it. So for me, I'm going to take the Atlanta Braves here on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Texas Rangers. Sandy Alcantara and Andrew Heaney are your starters. Now, there's no doubt that Sandy Alcantara has been a lot better recently than he was at the beginning of the season. I mean, look at his last couple of starts. He's looking more and more like the Cy Young winner we saw last year. 17 innings against the Phillies and Rays. His last 2 games, only 1 run allowed with 12 strikeouts. He's keeping the ball on the ground. His control's there. He's going deeper into ball games. However, despite all of that, in his last 5 games, the Marlins are still 1-4 in those ball games. So, I do think with the Rangers, they provide a really tough matchup for any starting pitcher, a lefty or righty this season. I think Sandy could struggle here on the road, and Andrew Heaney's coming off one of his best starts of the year, really one of his best starts of his career. 6 innings, 2 hits, no walks, no earned runs, 11 strikeouts, and a 2-0 Rangers win. Now back-to-back victories for Heaney and the Rangers when he's been on the mound. It's tough to go against the Rangers when they're playing at home, and their lineup has been so good. Their bullpen's improving. The expected number's really good for Texas as of late. The ERA is still pretty steep in the last 30 days, but the 4th best Sierra in baseball, so I see some positive regression going forward. Give me the Texas Rangers here on the money line at home. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Bryce Miller and Chase Silseth are your starters. Now, I talked about it on the morning show on Saturday. I talked about it on the rundown, the first 2 games of this series, and throughout this season series, the Mariners have a huge advantage in the bullpen in this matchup. We saw it in the first 2 games of the series, and we've seen it in the last month. The Angels' bullpen been one of the worst in baseball, so that's why if you like the Angels in a matchup, starting pitching matchup in this series, I think you take them in the first 5 innings, and that's what I'm going to do in this matchup. Chase Silseth has pitched really well, recently and overall this season for the Angels. His last 2 games against the Yankees and Braves, both games were wins for the Angels. 5 2/3 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts against the Yankees. 5 innings, 1 run against the Braves in a 4-1 victory last time out. The Mariners have certainly improved offensively against right-handed pitchers, but I still think Silseth can give the Angels 5, maybe 6 good innings. And Bryce Miller is just not in good form right now, giving up 12 earned runs his last 2 starts against the Twins and Red Sox. 6 home runs across those 2 starts. Just don't trust him here on the road against a solid Angels lineup against righties. Give me the Angels in the first 5 innings because I do not trust that bullpen. Next up, it's the San Francisco Giants taking on the Oakland Athletics. There's no official lineup for this game, so we could see a pitching change, but right now it's Alex Cobb and Luis Medina. Now, I like Alex Cobb just as much as the next guy. In fact, I even went as far as taking Cobb as a dark horse Cy Young winner in 2022 and even this season, and he's pitching well this year. He's got a 3.05 ERA, but mostly, his best starts have been at home this year with a sub-2 ERA at Oracle Park. On the road, Cobb a 4.63 ERA through 56 1/3 innings of work. And he just faced this Oakland A's lineup back on July 25th. He pitched well in that game, but that was at home. It's not easy facing the same lineup twice in a very short span of time. I do think this is not the most favorable matchup for Cobb, and I'm also a little bit worried with the fact that his last game against Arizona, a team that's really struggling right now offensively, Cobb gave up 3 home runs where he's a very pitch-to-contact guy who trusts in his ground ball stuff. Giving up 3 home runs to a struggling lineup is not what you want to see. Now you look on the other side, Luis Medina for the Oakland A's. He's been pitching really well. His last 5 starts or so, his control's been there. He's only given up 1 home run his last 5 games. His strikeout numbers are there overall this season, about a strikeout per inning. His last 3 matchups against very tough teams in the Red Sox, Astros, and Rockies, he went 5 2/3 shutout baseball, 5 innings, 1 run, and 5 1/3 at Coors Field. 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, no walks. So Medina's in good form. He pitches better at home. The Giants have struggled offensively. Cobb's not been great on the road. He just faced the same lineup. To me, a lot of favorable things for the A's in this matchup. Getting a really good price at home. I'll take that price. Give me the A's on the money line. I'll take a little bit on the run line as well, plus the 1.5 runs. And the final game for Sunday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the San Diego Padres. This one on ESPN, 7 o'clock Eastern. Now, this is a tough matchup because I don't really love either of these starting pitching options, but I do think Lance Lynn has more upside to his game. I like the fact that he has 151 strikeouts and 126 2/3 innings. I don't love the fact that he's given up 31 home runs this season, a lot of sharp contact. And the Padres are a tough lineup, but so are the Dodgers, especially against lefties. Rich Hill, I do think he struggles here against his former team. And the bullpens, I also think the Dodgers have the better bullpen when you compare these two teams overall this season and in the last month. Game of the Los Angeles Dodgers here on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Sunday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bet, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.